I think it was last June. Young Thug and 28 other people were indicted in a RICO charge in Fulton County, Georgia, Atlanta. And that alleges that Young Thug's record label and rap crew, which is called Young Stoner Life, is actually a YSL for short, is actually a criminal street organization called Young Slime Life. And they are responsible for a long list of crimes that are going back to 2015 at least. Like this, it's very clear that this has been a long indictment and trial in the making. And so what RICO indictments are designed to do is prosecute the mafia and white collar criminals and people that may not be engaging in directly in crimes, but is to create evidence of a criminal organization. And so the argument that the DA in Fulton County, Fannie Willis, is making is that Young Thug is the leader of this criminal organization called Young Slime Life. And what the indictment does, which is getting the most amount of controversy and criticism from around the country, is that it has these things called overt acts in furtherance of the conspiracy to violate the Racketeering Act of Georgia. And those overt acts in furtherance of conspiracy are largely Instagram posts, pictures of people, some text messages, but a lot of lyrics of them saying, some they are accusing them of their lyrics of identifying actually specific crimes. The DA thinks that they can connect that to it, but also a lot of the lyrics are just them saying YSL or them talking about a gun, or like Young Thug has a song called Anybody with Nicki Minaj is on it, and he says, ready for war like I'm Russia. And that's an overt act in furtherance of the conspiracy. And so what this trial shows, and why my title of my piece is called Rap on Trial is now mainstream, is that using lyrics like this against rappers is fairly old. It's been going on since at least the early 90s. That's been documented by this book by these two professors, Eric Nielsen and Andrea Dennis. But typically being a famous rapper prevented you from having your lyrics put into a trial. That was enough sort of proof that those were an art, form of artistic expression. So usually it was an amateur rapper, someone who was charged with a crime, and they found lyrics they wrote, or they found it's really, the book is really worth reading just because they catalog how ridiculous a lot of the uses of these are. But no rap on trial case has ever been as big and as high profile as the Young Thug case. And so, there's like several different things I tried to do in my article. One was give a background of the case, a little bit give the local political context, which involves the DA, Fannie Willis, who is trying to make big splashes as a DA. And a pretty crazy fact is that her next RICO case may be charging Donald Trump, because she is the one investigating Donald Trump for trying to overturn the election in Georgia. And then the third thing is sort of the larger conversation about rap and rap turning 50 and what this means for the status and state of rap, that we have one of the most famous rappers on trial, but then we're also celebrating rap as well as this, great American cultural form. So that's a little bit of background of the case. And we can kind of go in a lot of directions because there's really a lot going on.
You answered like 10 of my questions. There is a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot. So, Bill, why do you care about Young Thug, and why do you care about this case?
Well, so I used to live in Los Angeles, and but I moved. I've been in touch. I have a lot of friends in Athens, Georgia, and so I'll tell you, I was talking to my hip hop friends here in Athens. Now, Athens and Atlanta are very kind of different hip hop scenes, but
Mhm.
there is some overlap. And of course, they all know what's going on. Um, the last movie I had, we featured some of the hip hop artists here at Athens, and one of them who was she's a politician now. She's a running SEIU, but she Mariah Parker, who goes by the name of God, I'm getting old and I can't remember anything. Anyway, she just had an album out last year that got some critical acclaim, but she's mostly a labor organizer. Um, and so there is some hip hop in Athens, but they do know the hip hop people in Atlanta. And what I'm hearing is that YSL is most definitely a gang. So a couple people I talked to actually were kind of on the yeah, Young Thug should go away because he's preyed on the local community. Um, the incident that kind of, from what I understand, really kicked this off was that the murder of, I'm getting old.
Donovan Thomas, Peanut.
Yeah,
in
Donovan
2015.
Thomas, who was
Mhm.
really well connected in the community and was considered kind of like a father figure slash sometimes manager of some of the other Atlanta rappers who have blown up quite big and was very beloved. And that's the whole incident that they're talking about, the car rental. And some people have been pleading out on it. And apparently Young Thug and he were friends before that, or they thought a lot of people thought they were friends. So I'm not sure they ever quite have unwound why that murder went down exactly, other than maybe power within the community. I don't know, even
Yeah, it's. I
there's
mean,
a
I think it's
lot
going to come
here.
out in the trial.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's going to come out in the trial. But that is the bigger context, is that this is the second. There's multiple RICO cases of gangs that are also rap groups, but Donovan Thomas was associated with a rapper named YFN Lucci. And YFN Lucci is pretty big. He's not as big as Young Thug, but he's a famous, successful rapper. And what they're alleging is that YFN and YSL have been in a gang war that was kicked off with the murder of Donovan Thomas in 2015. And so that's what you're speaking to.
And there's also, it's Atlanta is the center of hip hop and has been for quite a while, pretty much kicked off by Outkast being maybe the greatest hip hop funk band of the last 30, 40 years. But a lot of people move here to live in Atlanta, like from Chicago and places like that.
Mhm.
And some of them try very hard to live out of the way, and you know they've made money. They want to have a nice life. You know, other people struggle to because they're, you know, Atlanta's an interesting city. It's you know, it's in the South, but it's a big city. It's just like LA, New York, Chicago, not quite as big as some of those, but it's a big city with a lot of people. There's a film community here. A lot of record people live here. And, you know, like King Von got killed, and he was one that, you know, he'd already allegedly shot up a varsity with what, Little Dirk. And, you know, I think there's two things here, and I think I really liked your piece, Eamon. By the way, I did not like the documentary on
Little baby.
no, the one on Prime, Amazon Prime.
Mhm.
Um,
The Rap on
yeah,
Trial
because I think it
documentary.
focused.
Oh.
Yeah, I haven't watched that yet.
Well, all they wanted to talk about was the rap lyrics, and they sent out Kevin Lyles to represent 300, and you know 300 is a very interesting group. And I was talking to a friend yesterday. I mean, there's a lot of people in the hip hop community who think some nefarious things go on with 300 because they one of the first things they do when they get these young.
Oh, we lost Bill.
Bill dropped
Bill
out.
dropped out. We'll see Bill soon. If he can.
Yeah, but yeah, what he's getting at is important, and I think it's part of what I talked to two people in the piece. Eric Nielsen, the guy who wrote the book Rap on Trial, who's an English professor at UNIN, who is one of the biggest people to write about the use of the lyrics on trial, and he's often hired as an expert witness by legal teams, and he is retained by Young Thug's legal team, so he wasn't able to speak on the specifics. But the second guy I talked to was Ken Montgomery, who's a defense attorney in Brooklyn, who was Bobby Shmurda's lawyer early in his case, and was also Rock from Helta Skelta's lawyer during a murder trial. If you're familiar with them, and was Ruck, former, later known as Sean Price. So he's very knowledgeable on this, but he had a different thing that was sort of like, I think what Bill was sort of getting into is that there is something going on in rap right now where more rappers are getting killed, and it seems like there is a lack of engagement and action with that, and any kind of sort of responsibility being taken by a lot of the people that are selling this music that is violent and that should be, as a huge rap fan myself, that's should cause some discomfort. There's a lot of blurry, morally ambiguous lines here. So yeah, I think that was sort of in the direction that he was headed. And yeah, so